In Dragon Ball Z, Dabura was a secondary antagonist who first debuted in the Buu Saga. Serving as the highest-ranked henchman of the wizard Babidi, Dabura was the fearsome king of the demon world, who possessed magical abilities and whose power was said to be comparable to Cell. However, Dabura wouldn't be around for long, as he was the first victim of the newly resurrected Majin Buu, who turned him into a cookie and ate him. But what if Dabura returned in Dragon Ball Super and joined Universe 7 in the Tournament of Power? How would this change the tournament, and how well would he perform? Well, in this video, we're going to discuss what if Dabura was in the Tournament of Power. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and enable notifications so you could see all of my content right away when it comes out. Alright guys, so in this video, we're going to be discussing what if Dabura was in the Tournament of Power. And, you know, I finally decided to make this video because it's something I've been wondering a lot ever since Dabura basically went out the way he did in Dragon Ball Z, and I feel like was completely wasted. I've wondered what would have happened if he came back in each subsequent arc. So in this video, we're going to be discussing what if he was in the Tournament of Power. So joining me today is someone you've seen on my videos in the past, and his name is...
Hey guys, what's up? It's Josh from Dragon Ball Nation here.
Okay, Josh, so, you know, obviously this is something we've talked about in the past, and we referenced in our video about Cell coming back to the Tournament of Power, and if he was involved. So, what if Dabura was in the Tournament of Power? Now let's first talk about who Dabura could potentially replace, because that's one of the big things that obviously would have to happen in this case. You know, who do you think would be like the best pick for Dabura to replace?
You know, in all honesty, probably Krillin.
Yeah.
If I had to think about it, because I think Tien has more versatile moves than Krillin. He can also, you know, he can, just like Krillin, do the Solar Flare. I mean, what things besides, I guess, Destructo Disc does Krillin really possess that Tien can't do also, you know?
Yeah.
I guess besides being short, so by the logic of GoldenEye on Nintendo 64, if you ever fought against Oddjob, you know, you would hate that. It would be the same thing with Krillin. Or I guess if you're fighting Krillin in any fighting game. But, you know, I feel like that would be the easiest person to replace, honestly. I would like to keep Frieza there. I don't really think it's the same scenario where we would replace Frieza with Cell or anything like that. I mean, I think one of the first things you should probably mention is, you know, this is also true for Cell, but this isn't really something that would be plausible for them to be like, yeah, we're gonna bring back Dabura, you know, to help us. Frieza was the best choice for someone to be revived, but, you know, this is a fun thing to be like, you know, how effective would he be there, you know? He's specifically one of those characters that has very unique abilities to him, kind of like Devilman, but, you know, if Devilman was there, he'd just be murdering everyone with evil in their heart.
Yeah, exactly. He would fire the Devil Might Beam, and then everyone would explode.
But, you know, Dabura has very unique things, and in a similar fashion to Buu, Dabura possesses magic, which we didn't get to see a whole lot of, but, you know, he did the fire breathing, and Goku noted that, you know, Dabura was a magic user, and at that point, a lot stronger than he had anticipated after he had compared him with Cell. So, we've done videos on this, I believe.
Yeah, we've done videos discussing, you know, kind of how strong we think Dabura is relative to some people, although I don't think we've done an exact video literally breaking down, like, how much stronger he is than this character versus that character, you know, actually getting really in-depth. But in my estimation, I view Dabura as being the equivalent to, or even greater than, Super Perfect Cell. Now, there are a lot of people who try to say, oh, Goku meant regular Perfect Cell, or even the Cell that he faced on his own, and thus a suppressed Perfect Cell when he's saying that he thinks Dabura is equal to Cell. But the only thing is, like, nobody in the Dragon Ball manga ever referred to Cell as imperfect Cell, or semi-perfect Cell, or even perfect or super perfect, you know? Cell kind of said that about himself, but, you know, nobody else would have said those things. So Goku, who likely had sensed Cell's power when he was talking to Gohan during the Kamehameha clash, I feel like he had a good judge of how strong Cell was as Perfect Cell and how strong he was as Super Perfect Cell. So if he says he's as strong or possibly even stronger, I would say that it's around Super Perfect Cell.
And Mike, at the same time, I've brought this up before, I would assume, and it is an assumption, but I would assume that writing the story that you would compare it to the last form of the enemy, you know, especially since there's no specification of he's about as strong as Cell when I was fighting him, but not, you know, when Cell came back and Goku still got a good sense of his energy. You know, you have to think about what kind of care was done with the writing in terms of the story. But Mike, in terms of Dabura, obviously he has the spit, but what I was just thinking is it'll work on some people, but then on others it's not gonna. Even with Fat Boo, you know, he was dodging it, just backflipping away from the spit.
And I'm sure that he could have like ripped off like a piece of his blubber or whatever Boo is made of.
As much as I hate a lot of the story, it's, you know, it's a fan manga, but Dragon Ball Multiverse had a cool scene where Dabura and Cell fought, and Dabura spit on Cell, and Cell rips his own head off so he can get out of the stone, basically, which was awesome. But you know, Dabura could spit on people. Obviously, they turn to stone, and you can knock people off of the arena that way. Although, they'd probably crumble if you try to knock them off by hitting them or something. Or if they eventually plopped onto the outside rings when they're turned to stone, they shatter when they hit the seats. You know, it seems like when you turn to stone, you're very fragile. But I wanted to make a point that, you know, in Super, we obviously saw Trunks deflecting the stone spits by smacking them around. You know, he was deflecting them with his hands, if I remember correctly. So there's certain limits, I feel that, but I also feel like that was kind of stupid in Super. I don't feel like you should be able to deflect it like that. I feel like it's just something that would stick to you. But Mike, the fact of the matter is that it was shown in Super to be able to be deflected.
Yeah, and you can dodge it, as you said, with Majin Buu.
Right, so, you know, what is the speed of it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it is spit. Like, can Dabura really spit like a million times faster than light?
It's really something you have to, if you don't have prior knowledge of the spit, I feel like it is going to hit you for sure. It doesn't seem to be an extremely fast moving projectile, so it could be a very, very useful tool in the Tournament of Power. It's something that, you know, we don't really have from the characters, really. That'd be something that, a role that like Chaozu would fill, really.
Well, the thing is, like, that's one of the big advantages that people from, say, the different universes had going into the Tournament of Power. So with Universe 9, obviously, they and Universe 4 were kind of like sending spies to figure out who Frieza was and kind of like scout Universe 7's team. But like a lot of them wouldn't really know, so Universe 7 would have the element of surprise there, much like how Master Roshi, even though he should be so much weaker than so many of the characters in this tournament,
Super's logic, Mike.
Yeah, he was able to use the Mafuba over and over again on them, even though, like, when King Piccolo was maybe, like, 2 or 3 times stronger than him, he literally died just from using it once on him. But, you know, it's Dragon Ball Super. But what about Dabura's other abilities, though, Josh? Because you gotta remember that Dabura also has, like, magical generation. He can materialize like a sword, so...
Is he gonna use the sword on anyone, though, Mike?
Well, yeah, but do you think maybe he could, like, materialize, like, a cage to keep somebody
That's
inside
the question, though. Like, how far does his magic extend? What abilities does he have that other people won't be able to possess? You know, we see the Supreme Kai summon the, what? I always get the name wrong. The catching. You know, he can do stuff like that. So can Dabura summon things, you know, from scratch that he has knowledge of? You know, Piccolo has that close beam for the best ability in Dragon Ball history. But, you know, what can Dabura do specifically? He can summon the sword, I guess similar to Janemba, even though it's, you know, a non-canon film, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, what can Dabura do? We can spit fire, we saw that, and summon a sword, but I mean, really, what else? Is the stone spit specific to him? Is that just a magic ability that he can do? You know, so it's one of those things that, how far does it go in terms of his magical power? I feel like that would really be the deciding factor because, you know, his strength is, I would say overall in terms of power compared to the overall cast of fighters that's in there, he's probably in the middle tier. There's obviously people that are far exceeding him, but there's some weak people there. So, you know, he might be like middle to, you know, lower tier strength-wise, but
yeah,
he needs to have the proper skills to balance that out. And the magic really is going to be the deciding factor. Does Dabura possibly have any healing properties that even Fat Buu has? You know, that Fat Buu can heal people. Can Dabura replace some of the things that Majin Buu's role would have fit?
Well, when you bring that up, Dabura could potentially have some sort of healing factor, because you gotta remember, when Majin Buu first attacked Dabura, he, like, gouged his eyes, and you could see, like, Dabura's eyes were, like, gushing blood. So that could potentially mean that Buu actually destroyed his eyes when he attacked him that first time, but then when he comes back, his eyes seemingly are regenerated, so maybe he does have some sort of healing factor. But in terms of like his actual performance in the Tournament of Power, I feel like Dabura would be more like you said, like a mid to lower tier fighter, and he would like clean house on the weaker people that like the humans can fight
and
against.
He might even catch some strong folk. You know, he might catch them off guard with the spit. But after he uses the spit enough times, you know, people are gonna notice that, I feel like, unless he's staying relatively unseen, you know. But that would kind of get old, seeing spit on people over and over again, and you know, so.
For all we know, Frost could do the same thing he did with Roshi, where, like, he gets Dabura to spit on him, but then he jumps out of the way and it hits somebody from Universe 7 at the last second.
Right, and what if... I don't even think we thought this, Mike. If they brought Dabura back, he's gonna be the good angel Dabura. I don't think either of us thought of that. Would he even want to fight?
Yeah, if they're using the anime canon. I mean, who knows what Dabura is really even...
They probably would, though. That seems what Super likes to go by, is a large portion of the anime canon. They kind of just...
Oh, I'm Dabura! I don't want to fight anyone! I want to collect flowers!
They're going to be calling for Gohan the whole time. I heard Videl and Bulma calling for him, but once I heard Dabura, I made sure I got running towards them.
Yeah, seriously. That's one of the things that would have been cool, like, if Dabura got his own one-day visit like Frieza, because, you know, Universe 7, if they win, for example, you know, maybe that gives Gohan a little bit of time to fight Dabura in that rematch we never got to see. I mean, at this point, he would destroy him.
Low-key, one of the most underrated fights. I mean, it wasn't great in the manga. It was very short in the manga. That was the biggest downfall, but I thought it was one of the cooler fights in the anime. Honestly, it was a good, you know, very well paced, good, quick 15-minute or so fight. Had some nice action and animation and some cool abilities being shown off.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like is that Gohan starts out the fight in his base form, even though they just said that Dabura is as strong and possibly stronger than Cell. So come on, Gohan, what are you doing? I don't know. But do you have any kind of like final thoughts on this before we go? Because, you know, I feel like Dabura would have been a cool entry. He's somebody I would have liked to see explored a little bit more. You know, after all, Frieza did get so many times where they have brought his character back, you know, if we count the non-canon materials, whereas Dabura has shown up mostly in video games and flashbacks.
Right, and even then he's kind of shafted sometimes for video games not even in him. He's not really a character that gets a lot of love, and me and you both do enjoy the character. We think he's very cool, and it's not even really the character himself necessarily the whole time. It's kind of what he represents. You know, he's the king and the ruler of this realm that we just don't see, really, so that's one of the interesting things. I guess my final thoughts would really be, you know, going back to the real thing that would have to decide how useful he'd be is how far his magic goes, you know, what he can do. And to the people watching this, you know, what would be, you know, non-canon too, I would say. Because I know a lot of people want to see Pikkon, or wanted to see Pikkon, even though he is just filler. What character they would have liked to see in the Tournament of Power? Well, I mean, I could say a million characters, you know. I think Cooler's one of the coolest villains, but I mean, he wouldn't really bring anything to the table. We talked about Cell, and I think Cell really has potential to be an extremely valuable asset, but you know, in the end, Frieza is the best choice that they made. I don't think they made the wrong choice there, so.
No, I mean, it was obvious, like, based upon the strongest villain or dead person that they had ever encountered, you know, someone who they had familiarity with, someone who Goku thought he could handle, you know, Frieza in general was a good choice of somebody you're gonna bring back.
And I mean, seeing Frieza in the almost anti-hero role is kind of amazing, so.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't wait to see the English dub for that too, because, you know, it's just going to be phenomenal hearing that.
Hopefully these episodes come out a little bit faster, though, because one a week, oof, I don't know. I mean, I'm still remembering back when I was a kid watching Toonami, and some weeks they had 5 brand new episodes of Dragon Ball Z. Not anymore. Not anymore. But let us know your own thoughts down below in the comments, and tell us some other people that you would like to see participating in the Tournament of Power, you know, perhaps replacing someone like Krillin or Tien, because come on, Tien, you should have done a little bit better in the tournament.
Hey, he went out like a G. Now Piccolo, on the other hand, got knocked out by a ant.
Come on, Piccolo. Like, you were the Demon King, Piccolo, and now you're just losing to bugs. But let us know down below. And of course, check out Dragon Ball Nation in the end screen and the description. And if you like this content, stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future. Yeah, and you better subscribe, enable those damn notifications.